I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Chief, if you want to bring everybody in. Yeah, you are first. So at this time, we're going to have a swearing in of our newest police officer, JJ Medjkar, who will be sworn in by our city clerk, and the police department will introduce him and his guests.
I'll wait till that's done.
That's what we did. You folks, you can move yourselves in here. There's chairs all over the place. Please, because if they need to race out of here, they will run you over. All right, all yours, Chief.
All right, thank you. I have to say, it feels like I'm here every month introducing the newest police officer. We should be up to full staff now, and yes, it's a good thing. So with that, I'd like to introduce our newest officer, JJ Medjkar. A little bit about him. He's a graduate of Port Washington High School. Attended MATC and UW Milwaukee. He's been an officer since 2013. He has prior experience with the Ozaukee County Sheriff's Department, and we hired him away from Thiensville Police Department. He brings some good experience and training with him. He's a field training officer, evidence technician, and a handgun rifle instructor, and also has been trained in CIT or crisis intervention training. And with that, then, I am going to turn it over to our city clerk, who is going to do the swearing in. And also, I'm actually going to ask JJ to introduce family and friends here. And then you can tell us who is going to be pinning your badge on.
Well, I guess you were everyone mixed in. Scott and Sue Nicholson, the person that hired me away from Ozaukee down to Thiensville, and then retired on me. My father-in-law Al, my friend Sapir, my youngest daughter Georgie, my good friend Heather, also my first dispatch FTO, who didn't find out until after I was hired that I didn't know how to type. My daughter Jessica, who is my nursing student. Oh, Georgie's my sophomore. And then my son, who couldn't be here, he's stationed in Wichita. He's in the Air Force. So unfortunately, he couldn't be here, but did I miss anybody here? I have obviously all my Newcastle coworkers. There's some people hiding in the corner. My friend Danielle, also from Thiensville. Len Janzer from Thiensville, who's now with State Fair. From Southern Ozaukee Fire. Oh, yeah. Oh, and my daughters will be doing the bidding.
Raise your right hand. Do you, James Medjkar, do solemnly swear that you'll uphold, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America, the state of Wisconsin, and the ordinances of the city of Port Washington, that you will diligently strive to serve with the highest standards of professional ethics and personal integrity, and you will honorably uphold departmental values and perform the duties as an officer within the police and for the city of Port Washington, so help you God. Congratulations.
Oh, yes.
Hold it. Not so quick. You girls can sit. JJ's got to sit down. So we are an oath of honor accredited agency. So before you sign that oath, I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and then you're going to follow after me with the oath. The Port Washington Police Department is an accredited oath of honor agency. All employees from the chief of police to our clerical staff have taken and signed the oath of honor to signify our belief in its words and importance. A public affirmation of adhering to an oath of honor is a powerful demonstration of ethical standards. Before any officer takes the law enforcement oath of honor, it is important he or she understands what it means. An oath of honor is a solemn pledge someone makes when they sincerely intend to do what they say. The oath of honor for the Port Washington officers is as follows. Please repeat after me. On my honor, I will never betray my badge,
On my honor, I will never betray my badge,
my integrity, my character, or the public trust.
my integrity, my character, or the public trust.
I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions.
I will always have the courage to hold myself accountable and others for our actions.
I will always uphold the Constitution,
I will always uphold the Constitution,
my community,
my community,
and the agency I serve.
and the agency I serve.
You follow along very well. Congratulations.
JJ, what year did you graduate from Port High School?
1994. It's been a minute.
Yeah, nice. Well, on behalf of the council and myself and our city, we just want to welcome you back and thank you for taking this position here in Port Washington. I'm struck by what's behind you tonight, the fact that your fellow officers came, but most impressive is that they brought their families. And that's a cool part I see with both our police and our fire department is that you're stepping into a family. You've got a senior leadership team. Your executive team is very caring and kind. And I think the other piece is that you get to now patrol the streets you grew up on. Few things have changed since 1994. And if I recall, there's some kind of fun people in your class there that you might interact with. So they've lived in the neighboring community, but that's fine. But in all seriousness, thank you. And I also want to thank the officers for giving up their night and then coming tonight and bringing their families. It's good to see them, especially little Luigi there. But as we move forward as a community and safety, it's excellent to know that you'll be on the streets and that you'll be alongside these great men and women that you serve with. So welcome home and congratulations and thank you. And girls, that's much better than normally moms and wives do with the pinning because they don't want to put that badge on. And it's awesome that you did because that will shield your dad and the rest of us. So thank you for the late nights that you'll have and the people who will wonder and worry about you, JJ. But we're very proud that you're back. You're welcome. Welcome back home.
And we're also having cake and coffee and water at the police department. And I think that helps
That's-
to get everybody here.
The next officer swearing in will be moved to the end of the agenda so that we can enjoy the cake. All right.
A while now for the next one.
Yeah, which is good.
So
right.
everybody that wants to join in on that can head over to the police department now. Thank you.
All right, so as they exit, we've got an easy agenda item next, which is the consent agenda. Is there anyone willing to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved and moved and seconded? Yes, that's it. We've got a big agenda. We're going to get through it. Any questions or concerns about the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposition? All right, that moves us into the mayor's updates. First thing I wanted to do is while the police officers head out, Monday, May 13th, next week on May 15th is Peace Officer Day. I'll have a proclamation that I'll be delivering to the police department on that day, and that we'll bring to council the following week. But at Monday night at 11:58, just a reminder that down at the Coal Dock Park in the pavilion, the police officer, our police department is joined by usually the Ozaki County Police or Ozaki County Sheriff's Department. And there's a short, nice program there where we honor the fallen officers across the state of Wisconsin in a moment. If you've never been to it, I would highly recommend that you take the half hour out of your evening and go down there. It's hard to explain in words, but a bagpiper marches up and plays Amazing Grace, and then the police department has a few words. They read off the names of the officers that are fallen. But if you can make it, I would highly recommend you make it. The second one is we have a proclamation tonight for the annual the Professional Municipal Clerks Appreciation Week sent to us by the governor. Susan, you and your team do great things here in the city of Port Washington. And for the record, as we head into the fall election here, we have multiple people up here tonight who volunteer at the elections, which I'm grateful for. You run a great organization, and I think our city has incredible integrity when it comes to our elections, election security, and the fidelity to which that you run them out. So enjoy your week, and congratulations and thank you. The next one is an announcement. I just wanted to also thank Park and Rec. This weekend, there was a park cleaning and volunteering opportunity. I was down there with Tyler and the Lions Club. Rick Sternhagen did a great job providing leadership for that. We had nearly 50 people come. So we went beyond the normal park areas. So it was very neat to see that. And again, thanks to Port Washington High School. I see our principal was here. A lot of young high school students coming down for their volunteer hours and going into those different components. The other piece is that I did get a sneak preview yesterday of our mural that's going up on Jackson Street by the police department. I went down and saw the student components of it. So kindergarten through 12th grade students across the city and all of our public schools and our private school, as well as Saukville Elementary, created little clay three-dimensional objects that will be part of the tree. So when you're driving, as you're heading north, when you look up, there's a larger tree. There will be an installation there that'll be a grouted ceramic tile piece. So you have everything from these little tiny ladybugs made by kindergartners to very, very intricate and beautiful clay like owls and just different parts of Port Washington and different things. So take a look at that. And then the last thing I have tonight is also a proclamation for Teacher Appreciation Week. Ms. Beards, thank you for coming tonight. I'm going to send you out with 4 of these. So this week is Teacher Appreciation Week, and of course, this is near and dear to my heart. As a matter of fact, the reason I had to step up at our PFC meeting is because my son graduates from college on Sunday, and he got his job offer today. So he'll be teaching social studies to the north of us. And Mr. Ernestine, that scholarship your family gave him paid off, so thank you. But this is Teacher Appreciation Week, and I just want to say thank you on behalf of the community and our citizens. I'll leave you with this, but Port Washington's education, whether you go private or public, is a fantastic opportunity. Many of us here enjoyed our schools. Port Washington is a growing community with great opportunities. Our schools are going to be changing and growing, new leadership in our district, so it's exciting times, I think, for everyone and the staff. Port Washington High School is a place that I'm very proud as in my professional job to go around and say that I live here and that my kids graduated from there, that my wife and I graduated from there, that my brothers, my brother-in-law, sister-in-law, everybody that I know and care about graduated from there, and the people who give their time and effort every single night and every single day to ensure that kids can realize their futures by becoming educators and working on those staffs are very important to all of us. So, Rachel, I'll leave you with these 4 proclamations, and then if you could bring those back to the schools. Otherwise, I would highly encourage members of the community to just take a moment to remind the staff that what they do that impacts our kids matters, and they should just drown out the noise around them because they're good people who deserve recognition. So thank you for that. Rachel Beard's here, everybody. Oh, and I didn't see you there. Thank you for coming down. Give her all 4 of those. All right, the next piece is the officer reports that were in the packet. And there's no, I'm sorry, they were not in the packet. At this time, then, we'll move into public comments and appearances. Community members, you're welcome to speak to up to 3 minutes on any of the agenda items. If you need more time, contact myself or the city administrator for potential opportunity to have an agenda item placed on the Common Council agenda. So at this time, are there any public comments or appearances? Mr. Beaver?
Good evening. I'm Jim Beaver, the chairman of the Police and Fire Commission, and I'm just here to speak in favor of moving forward on the new public safety building. Many hours and effort and time and thought was put into where we've gotten so far, and I think it's a building that can really serve our needs for well into the future. So on behalf of the PFC, we just want to encourage you to move forward on the planning of the new building.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comments or appearances? Any other public comments or appearances? Okay, that moves us into the standing council committees, General Government and Finance Committee. The first discussion tonight is consideration and possible action on the approval of the original Class B liquor and Class B beer license and annual cabaret license for Andrew Van Ells, Robert L. Shannon, Post Number 82, the American Legion, on 435 North Lake Street. The issue is should the city approve an original Class B liquor and Class B beer license for the American Legion. Staff recommends the approval of the license as it has been reviewed by the city clerk. Susan.
This request has come before us. The American Legion previously held a combination Class B beer and liquor quota license. Most recently, in the last few years, that license was held by Inventors Brew Pub. Inventors Brew Pub has moved to their new location and was issued a similar license at a previous meeting of the council. They have now surrendered this license, so that quota license has been returned to the city. And we are reissuing this at the request of the American Legion so that they may continue with future use of their facility with regards to a liquor license and a potential company or individuals that will come in to help them as a tenant with whether it be food or event planning or public programming. So this also includes a cabaret license. They want the flexibility to be able to provide musical entertainment as well within our ordinance. So all of the background checks have been done. Nicholas Blank will be the agent for both the cabaret license and the alcohol license, and I'm recommending approval. Does anyone have any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions or concerns on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ooh, I hope they bring back the smelled fries. All right. Second one is a resolution 2024-3 authorizing the issuance and sale of up to $12,850,100 in taxable sewer system revenue bonds, Series 2024, and providing for other details and covenants with respect thereto. The issue is, should the Common Council approve a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of up to $12.8 million for the City of Port Washington taxable sewer revenue bond series and providing for other details and covenants. The staff recommends approving the resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of up to $12.8 million worth of taxable sewer system revenue bonds, Series 2024. And this starts out with Mark.
Thank you. This item is to approve the necessary measures to move forward with the Clean Water Fund loan to finance the sewer treatment plant upgrades. That's a 20-year loan with a subsidized interest rate, making the city's interest rate 2.145% on this project. Public Works has, to this point, facilitated all the necessary requirements with the program to move forward, and the financial assistance agreements are included with this, as well as the formal resolution with the city approval to move forward on this project and financing.
Any questions or comments from committee? I was be looking for a motion. Go ahead, Mr. Benning.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'll move that we approve the resolution 2024-3.
Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Any questions or concerns on the motion? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, excellent. The motion passes. That brings us to consideration and possible action on authorizing Bray Architects to proceed with final design of the safety building. This evening, the PFC was invited to come and see a preview of this tonight, and I appreciated the Police and Fire Commission members coming down and seeing those different components, as well as having that conversation. The staff recommends the Common Council authorize Bray Architects to proceed with Phase 2 design services per the attached executed agreement that was approved by the Common Council on February 6, 2024. Just as a aside for the community, tonight we will be viewing the potential architectural design scope of the project and looking forward with those. And I know the council knows this, but we've got 3 agenda items in a row that really put us on the track to move forward with this project. I think the council recognizes the weight of the evening, and I just really am grateful for the time and effort of staff, as well as members of the community who participated in the design phases that brought us to today. And just a reminder to council that this is one of those great opportunities for us to stay above the line. When we met with the architects, like, we're not going to approve the carpet color or the color of the walls. That's going to be left to staff and professionals, and they'll come to us with those different packages for final viewings and different components like that. I also want to thank the council members who participated along and sat through PFC meetings. Alderman Benning, I know that you are a regular attendee there, and we've heard the needs from the city and from our PFC, as well as our 2 different departments. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rob and Bray for that conversation, and we will keep moving.
Okay, so with us tonight is Matt Wolford from Bray Architects, who has presented to you on 2 previous occasions, August 15th of last year and February 6th of this year, presenting on the schematic work that has occurred so far. This Phase 1 of the agreement with Bray was executed on February 6th. The Phase 2 of the agreement has been executed but requires council approval before work can take place on that. So Matt is here to present on what our committee has accomplished so far. We'll start with that.
Good evening. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Council and Mayor. Appreciate all of your time, and good to be back to see all of you. Chris Egger from Bray is also joining this evening. He's been instrumental in development of the project to date. So I know you have this in your handout. I'll give you a brief overview. The first few slides should look pretty familiar as we've shared them previously. The timeline you see on your screen really is the separation of Phase 1 and Phase 2 services. So as Rob noted, Phase 1 was focused specifically on the master planning effort. validating needs regarding space, developing conceptual site and floor plans, preliminary imagery, which you will see this evening, some initial site due diligence, so making sure that the site is viable to support the building as proposed. And we're here this evening with the consideration from council of authorizing proceeding with phase 2, which you will see, which if that is to occur, we would be looking to get the project out on the street to bid in early 2025. Did I get that right? Yes, early 2025. Commence construction in spring of 2025 with completion in that late spring, early summer, rough horizon of 2026. So I know it's always hard. We say go and we assume the shovel's going to be in the ground the next day. There's still a lot of work to do, all the engineering, a lot of additional engagement with your leadership teams at the police and fire and city level. And that's why I just want to remind everybody that we are at a preliminary stage yet this evening. This is not a final design, not a final plan. I think it's the makings of what could be a fantastic public safety building for your community and your departments for years to come, but there still is some work to do. So brief overview, we had a question from some regarding program. How big is the building? How did you arrive at this? You can see on the screen and in your handout that the existing stations combined excuse me, are approximately 28,000 square feet. When we began the process of needs verification, we had at least 3, maybe even 4 meetings where we just went line by line, space by space over all of the different parts and pieces that would be needed to make an effective police and fire station for decades to come. Not just today, and not just to serve the needs of how we operate today, but looking to the future to make sure that we are, as much as possible, future-proofing the building to support changes and to support additional staffing as needed. When we got through that initial exercise, we were over 70,000 square feet. And as we talked as a group, we knew there were some efficiencies we could find there. We knew that was going to definitely test the ability from the budget perspective to be attainable. And after a couple meetings, we were able to scale the building back to approximately 60,000 square feet. While that is a significant increase over your current buildings combined, there are a lot of features in even a 1994 police station that are undersized, don't service you today, let alone plan for the future. And that is a main driver, not just police, but both departments driving that increase in square footage. We did look at other communities who have shared facilities of this type in this roughly 60,000, some may be slightly lower, some might be slightly larger. It is not an uncommon square footage when we're combining the amenities and space needed to appropriately provide these public safety services. Site and floor plans are here again. I will breeze through these, not because I'm trying to rush along, but I know you've seen these before. Happy to come back and answer any questions you have. But just as a reminder, the site proposed is the intersection of L33 or Grand, and I always forget the north-south roadway, and I can't see it on here. LL, thank you. So the plan in this case, north is to the right. So if you're thinking north is right, 33 is on the left side of this image. The areas in red on the right side are the fire station amenities, main feature there being the apparatus bays, obviously our large equipment coming out, directly accessing LL and going north or south to quickly respond to any calls that come in. The space in the center is our shared space, our training and courtroom, our fitness center, and some other minor meeting amenities and things of that nature. And then the area in blue is our space for police department. The site circulation, as we've all talked, the biggest challenge is DOT with our access restrictions on LL mainly. That is why the fire department apparatus bays are placed where they are. We are within that 500-foot setback, but we have positioned the building to so that the departing apparatus can go north and south. We are far enough north of the fixed medians that they will be able to make both southbound and northbound movements out of here. And thanks to Rob's persistence, I would say, in engaging with DOT, we at least have some connection there now and understand what it's going to take, we believe, to make that 500-foot restriction go away and allow us to access at that location. The floor plan's just blown up again. Not going to dive into too much detail. These are pretty close. The departments have had a month to 2 months now to really kind of vet these. Will little things change? Yes. Structure's not in here, data closets, custodial closets, doors will change, little tweaks will be made, but we're generally this organization is functional. It's working quite well. It provides the adjacencies, balanced with safety on the police side, fire, balancing safety and ability to quickly access the apparatus floor when a call comes in from either floor level, so that we can get our members from their bunk or from the day room or from a meeting onto the floor and out onto the street, responding to a call as quickly as possible. So some of the newer pieces are going to be the exterior imagery, and it's really important to note that these are preliminary. These will change, the roof angles will change, they may become flat. All that is to be worked out yet, but what we wanted to do is give you a general flavor of what a new facility could look like. So this is the image looking from the northeast, looking back towards the northwest. So you can see the Ernest Funeral Home off in the distance, if that helps center you. The pond on the left side of this image is actually at the roundabout. So you're seeing predominantly here the apparatus bays in the lower right hand of the image. The hose drying tower anchors that on the north end of the facility. The two-story piece that's just to the left of the apparatus bays on the lower level is the historic fire truck display location. Above that is all of the living quarters. So looking back at the plan, the day room, the kitchen, the bunks and bathrooms and showers are in that upper level. And then we transition down as we move to the plan or left side of this image through the fire offices, meeting spaces, to the shared space, which is anchored by that angled roof in the middle with a lot of glass provided into that space. Transitioning to police garage on the upper left-hand corner of the image. The popped up section in the middle, if you look back at your floor plan, is the roll call room. So balancing the goal for natural light into a dense space, which the police department is, while also providing security. No visibility into that space really is kind of that balance of security, safety with natural light. This is the image looking east. So this would be the main entrance image. So you can see on the right side of this image is the police garage and police department, a bit obscured by the trees on the right-hand side. The left side of this image is right below the flock of birds is basically the bunk area and fire admin. As we move to the right, you can see the hose drying tower off in the distance on the left side of the image. But the main goal of this image was to show the warm, welcoming entryway that most public users would be coming into, whether they're coming to meet or engage with either of the departments, or they're coming for a training or municipal court. If they're arriving by vehicle, this is the location they would park, proceed into the building. What's not shown quite yet is the memorial is planned and site planned to be just to the right of that main entry. So the police fire memorial will be relocated to the right side of the main entrance. This image is the view from the roundabout, basically. So we're now looking northwest. The pond hopefully is an anchor for you when you're looking at the site plan. This mainly is showing police department. So the popped up section, as I referred to earlier, with the clear story raised glass is where the patrol area is in the middle of the building. The left side of this is really the police garage, and while it's a taller volume and prominent, where we're going to use architectural features and treatments to break down the scale of that, it's a good opportunity for some signage, given that there'll be a fair amount of traffic traveling by on 33 heading west that would view that. And this is the rendering similar looking to the southwest, obviously anchored by the fire tower here. This would be an active hose drying tower, so wet hose from training or fires, active fires they're on, would be dried in this tower. You can see the apron where they're able to pull fire apparatus out onto the apron without blocking the sidewalk or being on the public street. And then you can see the two-story right beyond that with the angled roof on it is not only the historic fire truck below, and then the day room and living quarters above. And then the final piece of this is more of a perspective on the shared training space municipal court, where the individuals on the left side are walking towards the building. That is a secondary entry point. It's not a public entry during the day or in the evenings when the building's secure, but when you're in municipal court or doing training or having an event at the building, this would be a location for pedestrians or bikers potentially to access the site without making their way all the way around the building to the secure entrance. I will note that the signage, City of Port Washington, it's a placeholder. It may say Port Washington Public Safety, that's for down the road, but showing a signage opportunity, providing some screening for that training room, but still providing some natural light to that space to make it usable for them. So with that, Rob or Mayor, I'll turn it back to you to answer any questions council may have.
Council, any questions, wonderings, or thoughts?
I think one of the questions, Matt, that came up in GGF was the impact that the due diligence that you and Kapoor have been doing on the soil borings and the wetland delineation and the phase one. When we'll have assurance that the site is ready for, that the site is appropriate for the building?
Great question. So the land survey is done, so we feel good about the grading and know that we can work within the confines of the existing topography that's there. The geotechnical report we'll have by the end of next week, Chris, hopefully this week, but next week at the latest. And to be upfront, that is preliminary borings. We didn't go pepper 30, 40 holes in the ground. We're still kind of in a bit of the gray area of waiting for council to say, yes, we want to proceed with this project at this location. Not overspending on some of that site due diligence until you get there, but this initial round of borings should give us an idea of what's there. I will completely be honest that they are simply holes in the ground, and we inevitably will find things that we didn't know were there because we poked the hole in the wrong location. But that next level of due diligence with the additional borings will give us some more assurance. So next week we'll be feeling better about the soil borings piece. Wetland delineation, I believe, is complete. We just haven't seen the report yet. And then the environmental piece, Rob, you and I are going to connect on tomorrow for a few questions they have for you at the city, and that will be rolling as well. So it's all in process. We don't have every last detail yet. We are building assumptions, but the budget does contain assumptions and contingencies to protect against the typical things we would see. We are still in a position if something significant comes up, either in this round of borings or the next, we'll be back having a conversation about opportunities to address those challenges, which are typically attainable, but we'll be transparent if we find anything. We just don't have the definitive, it looks great quite yet.
Other questions? Otherwise, I'd be looking for a motion.
So, Mr. Mayor, in the finance meeting, we had a long, extended discussion, not about the building, not about the need for the building or anything like that, but the impact on the finances and the city's CIP and how this all lays out. So in the finance, we recommended that this vote be deferred until staff could put together kind of an impact analysis of what this would be, because we're not just committing 1.7 million here, we're really committing 35 million for the total project. And I'll let the other committee members comment, but we're just not in a position to say all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed on us understanding the impact of this borrowing, short-term for this engineering work and long-term for the whole project. We understand, and so working with Melissa, we've committed to having additional meetings in the short term to go through this and review it and make sure that we can understand what the financing impact would be to the city's finances.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Mayor, you kind of said it pretty aptly. This is a really big generational piece that we're talking about tonight, and I don't want to be too hasty in what we're talking about here, because I think this is the first time that we've seen that $35 million number, right, Matt? So like to see that over the weekend was a big shocking number. And to know without having a extremely firm grasp on what the capital borrowing looks like, the debt service limit that we would be bumping up close to in terms of financing this project, I think gives me and gives the rest of the finance committee a lot of pause. Again, I don't think it's about whether or not we need this building, because I think we absolutely do to service the current and future needs of the city. I think all of these pieces in summation tonight, there's just too many things to try to approve without having the firm knowledge that we'll be on firm financial footing for the next coming decade or 15, 20 years in the city. I want to get smarter about what our capital borrowing looks like to offset some of that. I really want to see what this will do to the tax, the levy that we'll be forced to pay, and that extra debt service that we'll have to incur every year as a result of this project, right? I mean, I want to be extremely circumspect about what we're sort of discussing tonight and approving tonight. Again, I don't think this is absolutely not a no for me. I just want to understand and be as fiscally responsible as I possibly can before we undertake a project of this magnitude.
Along with Aldermans Pleitner and Benning, I agree 100% with everything that's said. But unless I have a clear understanding and I can explain to any constituent how we are going to pay for this and what the financial impact is going to be to the city, I think we need to pause just a little bit, give us time to learn so that we can educate, explain clearly on where we're headed, why we're doing what we're doing, and how we're going to pay for it.
Do you have your Gantt chart in this slide deck?
Yes, I will jump back to that.
Could you explain to us what the impact would be of this being deferred for another 2 weeks or a month would be on the whole total project that we've asked you to set forth with?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say 2 weeks to a month would impact, but anything it wouldn't be as severe. Anything past a month, I would say we would need to start accounting for two things. Inflation. We're still seeing inflation in the construction industry. It's not what it was 2 years ago, but it's still more real in the 3 to 5% range. So we'd have to begin factoring that into the target budget. And we would also have to start factoring in winter construction costs. This schedule was set up with the intention of getting out of the ground in spring, with the goal of having the building enclosed typically by Thanksgiving, when the construction world goes deer hunting for 2 weeks. We want to be enclosed so that we can continue construction with minimal delays in cost during the winter months. So those would be the two cost variables. And at this point, I would say any month you add on the front end is an additional month of general construction, of winter construction cost, and a month of pushed out on completion.
And then council members who, I was not part of that committee, I'm sorry, I was downstairs. What exactly would you be looking to do in the next meeting? Just for the sake, because I want to make sure that
Yes.
everybody understands what's going on.
So what we've asked for, and Melissa can help me, keep me honest here, but is really taking a look at the impact of the borrowing, both for the engineering design activity as well as the whole building. What is that going to do to our borrowing limits and our tax levy? And then in light of a number of other projects that have been in discussion of looking at more of a larger picture, not just taking into account the 5-year CIP that we've been working on from all the departments, but these major projects, whether it's a rec center, a library, or some of these other things, just so we understand it. And as Deb said, I got to be able to explain that to my constituents, to myself, and I can't do that right now. And there's a little bit of timing here on what we're approving, because the council hasn't, we approved the design or the phase one, but we haven't approved the overall project. And this is approving the overall project, which again, I don't think the committee, the three of us, none of us said, no, this is bad. That's not the case. We just want to make sure we understand how we're going to finance this and work with Carol, work with Mark and other staff on that kind of thing. So that is our intention. We've already scheduled some time where we would meet and go through this and try to expedite it.
Okay. Are there any other council members? Otherwise, we'd be looking for a motion to, I don't even think we need a motion. We can just move forward without action.
Thank you, Mayor. So consulting Robert's rules, a motion of this type would be one to postpone the matter to a date certain or until the happening of a certain event. The motion should be offered and seconded. It's debatable to the extent that it cannot go into the merits of the main question. It requires a majority vote, a simple majority vote. But I think that to keep the record clear on this project as a whole, it would be beneficial for some member of the body to make a motion, as they said, to postpone to a certain time or to the occurrence of a certain event, if you wish, and that motion be formal and seconded and voted on.
So we'd be looking for a motion to
Postpone to a
postpone
certain-
until May 21st? Well, make a motion. I'm sorry, I threw out the next council meeting because I just heard if we go over a month,
Yeah, we're
we're
going
going to incur new costs.
for various reasons and staff time, we're going to have to go to June 4th.
Okay,
So
so
I'll make the motion that we, on what Rick said,
To postpone definitely to a date certain or to the happening of an event.
Correct, through the June 4th meeting.
is there a second on that motion?
I'll second that.
All right, so it's moved and seconded. Any questions or concerns on the motion? Mr. Sigwart?
That would be the meeting of the GGF, right, Dan?
The GGF will meet that day, but the council will also meet that night.
Okay, but I asked earlier this evening at the GGF if we could be given some time following the meeting of the committee before the council has to vote. For example, scheduled tonight was a review by GGF making a recommendation to the council that we'd be voting on within an hour afterwards. Okay, no minutes, no participation in the discussion by 3 of the alderpersons. So I think it's imperative that we meet in time, so if you want to have the council vote on June 4th, that you can meet prior to that as a committee.
So there's a motion and a second on the floor, and Mr. Sigwart, I appreciate that because you're asking for a process piece, and I'd ask that the city administration lay that process out as soon as possible so we can be transparent with the community and public and make sure that people have access to those committee meetings. Any other questions on the motion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, that moves us into the next 2 agenda items, which were contingent upon that first one. So are we, just as a question, the next one is consideration possible action on approval of an owner's rep for the public safety building project. Are we, from committee, is it the
We
same?
postpone that, and we'll talk about the other one in a second.
Okay.
So
So,
again,
well, let me just read this, please, Mr. Benning. So the issue is, should the city hire MC Group to serve as the city's owner's representative for the design and construction of a new safety building? Staff recommends the approval of the MC Group proposal to serve as the city's owner rep for the design and the construction. And Mr. Vandenhoven, I'm just going to let them go. Is that okay? All right.
Yeah,
So Chair, so are you speaking for the committee?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll recommend that this be postponed till June 4th as well.
So same motion?
Yeah.
Okay, so the motion would be to hold this agenda item until June 4th, correct? Same order? Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or concerns on that motion? All right. Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. Consideration and possible action on authorizing public facility and impact fee study. Should the city approve a proposal from Trilogy Consulting to perform a public facilities needs assessment and impact fee study relating to the proposed construction of a new public safety building? Staff recommends approving a proposal for Trilogy Consulting to perform a public facilities needs assessment and impact study relating to the proposed construction of a new public safety building. Mr. Benning.
So the recommendation here is that staff goes back and expands the scope of this to be any facility within the city versus just the public safety building. We've had issues in the past with this, but I think we need to broaden the scope out. So they would come back with a revised proposal from Trilogy to do that, not just for the public safety building.
Any other discussion on that?
Can I ask
Mr. Attorney?
Mr. Benning a question? Would you give them you mentioned the projects that we've all got. Would you give them a list? Or would you ask them to kind of hit some open?
Yeah,
target?
it's, and again, what we asked them is more of an open, ended, not, so that we don't have to do this every time we have a new major project out there. So we have a process in place.
So you would get some kind of a formula that would maybe look at the impact of of a $3 million
Yeah,
project versus a $5 million.
yeah, something like that.
Thank you.
That's good diligence. Is there a motion to that effect?
I would make that motion.
Okay. So the motion would be to bring this up on June 4th with the expectation that we expand the scope of the consulting needs assessment to include other projects. Future projects? All right, is there a second on that motion?
I'll second.
All right, it's moved and seconded. Any questions or concerns on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. All right, number 6 is ordinance 2024-3, amending portions of the chapters 836 and 485 of the city code relating to the appointment and commencement of terms of office members of certain city boards, commissions, and committees, and amending membership of the Planning Commission. Again, this is a first reading, so no action will be taken tonight. And as a reminder to council and the community, I had requested this be done by the city attorney with the city administrator, Ms. Pingle, because one of my greatest learnings when I got elected mayor is I had 11 seconds to turn around all of my appointments. Now, I'm exaggerating, but I was sworn in and I was supposed to have all those appointments ready to go. And with the ordinance shift that we had done last year with term limitations and a greater churn on the boards, commissions, and committees, I wanted to set up both future mayors as well as myself the opportunity to be able to do the diligence to properly recruit, interview, and make sure to check on the effectiveness of current appointees. So the recommendation was that by the next meeting, the third Tuesday in May, that I would bring you the slate of board, commission, and committee members, and that they would begin their appointments on June 1st. Attorney Eberhardt did a nice job reviewing all of the current state statutes and aligning to make sure that each of the current appointments were within state statute and our ordinance guidelines. So I don't know if I'm turning it over to Susan or Rick, or if there's anything you want to add in there. I did have one question from council about the PFC 5-year terms to see if that was statute or ordinance.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I did submit, I guess, a cover email to sort of give you the lay of the land. I think the mayor's covered most of those points. With respect to, and I'd be happy to address any questions you might have, with respect to police and fire, the 5-year term, which is not affected by this ordinance, the actual duration, it's the starting date that we're trying to, is set by state statute.
Okay. Laura, is any other questions for me or Rick on, yeah, Mr. Gasper?
It's in here, but not directly related to what we're trying. It's in here, but it's not directly related to what we're trying to achieve tonight. We have 2 of these sections. Let's use Public Works or Board of Public Works, Section 3 as an example, has a commencing date, which happens to be 46 years ago. And is that really valuable to maintain in there, or is that something that, since we're opening these sections up?
Which page and where is that?
Okay,
Mr. Gasper?
Section 3, it has commencing the third Tuesday in April 1978, 1 member shall be appointed for 1 year, 1 member for 2 years, and 1 member for 3 years. Thereafter, all appointments of non-elected officials shall be for 3 years. Now, that made sense in 1978. It doesn't seem like it would actually affect anything anymore. And I'm just asking, since we're opening this, does it make sense to keep that? Or should that sentence, should we just take the opportunity to strike that sentence out? And the same thing would be in Section 5, where they have the commencement for the Board of Directors for the Business Improvement District beginning in May of 1999.
Yeah, I think it's funny. Well, I appreciate you finding that blue law. I saw that too, and I just thought that that was in there for historical because that must have been when the Planning Commission was incepted. Is that a word? Conceived? Let's use conceived. Incepted sounded very. Anyways, commencing the third Tuesday, I thought that was a historical marker of, when you appoint your people, that it's a scattered 1, 2, 3-year terms. But to your point, does it need to stay in there?
I don't think it affects anything, Eric. I don't think it hurts anything to stay, but since we're opening it, does it make sense to leave that at this point or to just take some archaic language out that doesn't do anything?
So the answer, Alderperson Gasper, is these are historic references. They don't hinder or help. They are there as a point of reference. If the clerk or any other official in city government ever wanted to know when the staggered 3-year terms were established and follow through to the current date to make sure that the terms are, reoccurring as originally planned, they could reference that. I guess a lawyer drafting an ordinance with that sort of historical reference is in some way like a doctor, first do no harm. So if I go in the ordinance to try to address the couple of points that are before you for consideration, I generally leave any references like that. Could they come out? Sure, they could come out.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Any other questions or ideas for that ordinance shift?
Mayor, I think you want to mention the Planning Commission change.
Yeah, so thank you for that reminder. The other piece is that currently under our ordinance, under the Planning Commission, the Park and Rec Board votes a member of the Park and Rec Board to then sit on the Planning Commission. And as the city's moving forward with, stronger development and more development in the near future, I just believe that it shouldn't be left up to whoever the Park and Rec Board chooses. There's not really a need as much to represent recreation and forestry. That would be something that we would ask Mr. Harris to do on the front end as we're doing developments to say, has Park and Rec checked off on this? Has Police and Fire checked off on this, et cetera? So we would get that input from the professionals instead of that way. So thank you, Mr. Benning, for the reminder. Anyone else? Thanks, Dan. Okay, that moves us into, this is very exciting. We're repealing things tonight. The ordinance 2024-5, an ordinance repealing the one-way street designation, amending the parking restrictions, and establishing an official stop sign on West Main Street. This is the first reading. The issue is, should the city return the 100 block of West Main Street to two-way traffic? The staff recommends adopting ordinance 2024-5 to return the 100 West Main Street block to two-way traffic. There is no motion at this time as this is a first reading. Roger.
Yes. So roughly 10 years ago, Main Street used to be two-way. It was converted to one-way, I believe primarily to address the parking needs for the county. As you'll see in the packet, we did a parking study last summer, and that need is not there anymore. And then the other issue we had at Traffic Safety Committee is visitors to downtown looking for parking, they head west or head east, but as they're heading west, they run into this one-way street, especially newcomers, then they gotta kind of figure out where to go get around. So bottom line, we don't feel that there's need for this one-way street anymore. Let's get rid of it. That should help out some of our navigating downtown. It helps out slightly with congestion issues when there's a street event and then people head out one way to the east. I happened to witness this last year, and a post office was trying to back in their semi-truck, and traffic was coming north, and then basically their cars were just stuck there till the truck was able to get parked. And he couldn't maneuver because there were cars behind him, so. So our recommendation is to convert this to two-way. If you'll note in the ordinance, it does say take effect July 1st. The reason for this is JD's crews need to have time to prep this and be able to obtain asphalt and make sure they can get a mill from the county to mill off the existing type striping so that they can repaint.
And the county was good with this, you said?
Yes. Thank you for that question. That's, we have reached out to them in the past, and they haven't given us any strong, nay, we don't want this. I did send an email to the county exec this morning, again, saying, we're having this discussion tonight, and we will have a second reading in 2 weeks. Please respond if you have a strong feeling for this. So he didn't get a response back to me today. That's not unexpected, could tie into my email to him. But so we'll have that feedback at second reading. But I'm anticipating that I won't say that they don't care, but they largely recognize that, hey, it's our street and it is what it is.
Right. So I appreciate that because I think Main Street would appreciate this for the farmers market. To your point, I think it's very interesting how many people get frustrated and just keep driving and not drive around the block to then come back from west to east. It's just odd to me. So, and that makes a lot of sense to open that up because then that also opens up the access to the county parking lot, which they have more than one time said they're okay with community members using. Jonathan?
Just a quick point of clarification. The south side of Main Street would remain Engel parking. Is that right, Roger?
That's correct, yes.
Thank you.
Excellent. Any other comments on that, Ms. Postel?
Observation, I have seen quite a few times individuals heading west and just flooring it and going the wrong way for one block just so they can get a parking spot. So this eliminates that problem too.
Yeah, well, for me, it's good because that's me and I won't have to do that anymore. That's not true at all. Look at Chief, look at me. You see that? Oh, wow. Yeah, never mind, Chief Angus. All right, any other questions or concerns on that? Otherwise, we're going to keep moving. Okay, thank you very much for the work on that with traffic and safety. We appreciate that. Next is a presentation and discussion on the Traffic Safety 2024 update. I really appreciate this. I really appreciated how what you put together, and I'm looking forward to hearing about this. And I know that this is a passion project for many up on the council desks here. You want me to keep talking, Roger, to buy you time?
Sure.
I heard that, Mr. Ziegler.
We have to type in such long passwords. All right, so this is just a brief summary of what traffic safety has been doing recently and where we're headed this year. So we put some goals together as a committee. Essentially, we want to improve bike ped street crossing safety, downtown bicycle safety, and then improve Franklin Street crossing. So really on bike ped, on the interurban, we'd like to make, we have all the small stop signs. We're hoping to go to larger stop signs that'll help people, the bikers to stop, especially at some of these main roads, and improve markings as you're crossing the roads. That's for instance of one crossing. And then there's 5 with maybe the potential of a 6th up at LL on the north side in the bike path, where we want to consider adding rapid flashing beacons and maybe a few other features. Essentially make car traffic aware that there's a bicycle crossing. Just run through here. So this is Highway LL west of the Sheriff's Department. And you can see in the plan view, one of the other things that might help this is make it a perpendicular crossing versus the diagonal, but you're essentially crossing 4 lanes on a diagonal very frequently. Somebody in the middle lane stops to let traffic go, and somebody goes around them on the right-hand side. And that's consistent.
You would put flashing stop signs on either side of LL there, Roger, would be the proposal?
Yes.
Flashing stop signs.
Yep. Or not for car traffic, a flashing yellow. Spring Street at Portview is another one.
Before you go to the library, there, I have received some comments, some emails from residents about this, about cars traveling around, cars that are making a left-hand turn into the, I guess, parking lane, or that's a no driving zone. Is there anything that we can do to help mitigate some of that behavior?
You're talking specifically about by the library intersection?
Sorry, back up a slide, Roger. Yeah, it happens in the library as well, but I think about cars making a left-hand turn onto Portview, and other cars passing them on the right. Anything we can do to prevent some of that behavior?
Well, one of the things we like to do is bump out. We have these driveways here that make this a little bit of an issue. Restriping. Rob probably have some good ideas.
Well, yeah, well, no, just, I mean, adding the rapid flashing beacon should alert drivers that the reason that the car is stopped isn't for a left turn, it's because somebody's in the crosswalk. So, I mean, if the driver's paying attention, that should be enough. But we are looking at this. We're working with the DOT. They have a 2020 what? It's a ways into the future, maybe 2029. Yeah, sorry, but to enhance the crosswalks, rather more or less the handicap access ramps, and so we are trying to get them to bump those out where we can too. So.
But to your point, Jonathan, essentially any of these roads are essentially 4 lanes wide, we have this problem. I guess just add, well, I'll finish here. So, and we've identified the library has been an ongoing issue, and so that's these current flashing beacons that we have. We kind of got caught in the federal MUTCD transition of lights. At one point, they said, "Hey, you can have the rapid flashing ones." Then they took that away and said, "Nope, you can only have the slow ones." That's when we did our project, and then half a year later, they went back to saying you can do the rapid flashing. The high school hill, so this is North Webster Street and Jackson. So what we'd like to do here, I don't know if I can point. So we'd like to put controls for the flashing beacons on all 4 corners. But the beacons themselves would be on the south side of Jackson. So people coming up that hill have an indication that someone's going across. Otherwise, what you got is people coming up the hill and they're coming fast because they want to drop their kids off to school, and there's really no indication that anybody's in that intersection. And there's a lot of kids parking on Jackson crossing that street.
That's one, Roger, that I want you to know that, and Alderwoman Pasto helped advocate for that. I really appreciate this one. I think between Winter and, every 16.1-year-old who gets their license and think that they're the Duke boys and that's a ramp. Yeah. That is just every year I'm surprised that, I think that's the one spot every kid in town knows to look every possible way. So yeah. I appreciate that increasing safety there, because we couldn't put a stop sign there. In winter, nobody'd ever get up it.
Right. And
so thank you. And thank you, Alderwoman Pasto.
I have a daughter that drives a 5-speed, so yeah, so if she stops there every single time. But the other thing with these two is we'll add some pavement marking to this intersection too, saying pedestrian crossing ahead. And I don't believe that there's any signage on the road there for that either.
I have a question, budgeting for that one. Is that something that we can approach the school district with, to use their Fund 80 account to potentially support paying for that? The school district has the ability to levy for services and safety that impact the entire community and the entire community benefits. And that would be something where we could potentially ask them to share in the cost of that.
Actually, to that point, Mr. Mayor, all of these dollars will be requested during the capital budget at the end of this year for next year installation. However, if there are any civic groups, the high school, the county, anyone who would like to contribute so that we could do any one of these intersections this year, we're open to taking that money.
Accepting, yeah. Roger, what is the cost per intersection, just as a round number there?
If we're looking at these beacons that you see in this top picture here, you'd be looking at that intersection is going to be around 15,000.
Thank you.
What we're considering, and the one on the top picture is probably what I would recommend up by the high school. The lower picture, I think, is more appropriate for when we're crossing County Highway LL on the bike path and on Spring Street in Portview. This is a picture of the light in Cedarburg that they recently put up, and if you recall, tragically they had an accident that there was a death. I guess I'd like to learn from their experience. I don't have pricing on this lower one yet, but I imagine it's going to be double or roughly.
And I had the same question for this one, with that being the interurban trail with the county. I'm wondering if there's any assistance the county would be willing to provide. Well, you can, I'm just really asking for Mitch.
I can answer that. Mayor, I can answer that if you'd like. I did speak with our highway commissioner. The county will not participate in pedestrian crossings, but this is really a vehicular crossing because it's a bicycle, so it's kind of a gray area, just so you know.
Thank you for that, Mr. Sigler.
I'll work with Rob and Melissa on a strategy, but maybe we need to talk to the parks over at the county and the health department versus highway. To be fair to the highway department, they gave us our blessing to be able to make these improvements. They said, absolutely, we won't get in your way to make these improvements.
I wasn't asking in a critical nature. It was like, what are the opportunities and chances there? Because this is a service that the city provides, and this is a statewide. That is not used just exclusively by residents of Port Washington.
Yeah.
As we'll see the first warm Saturday of the year.
On this intersection here on Sunset, I think we simply want to kind of stripe this area similar to what we did on East Norport between the bike path and the end of the parking, because cars are sneaking in there and parking. Yeah.
Can you go back to that, Roger? Bob. That's almost as good as your Quick Trip signs and all your PowerPoints during the. Roger, well done there.
I'll keep it anonymous, but this photo was contributed by someone for me.
Yeah.
The other thing that we always got to view is the bicycle traffic downtown is find ways to get them to walk their bikes on the sidewalk. And Deb, tomorrow we're meeting with, so we are meeting with the business district downtown tomorrow to talk about some safety concerns. No. So Franklin Street crossing, I guess we're going to just pay attention to we already have some traffic data from Chief, and with the additional traffic that we're going to get from inventors, keep an eye on that and see what improvements we need to make there. So it's kind of our path. Like we mentioned, we're meeting with the Main Street people tomorrow. Get some more bike parking signs up, get some wayfinding through downtown for bikes. Really excited to get started with this bike ped plan with Tool, which since we're dogging on DOT today, it's all in their court to get started. So that's it. Any other questions?
I actually have one other question, and Alderwoman Postle, this is in your area. On the Northport bike trail crossing there too, that's another, I think any resident who lives up there, it's pretty sketchy because cyclists come flying through there. And I don't know if this is answerable, but I put in my notes here, there's commercial trucks, residents who live in the apartment buildings and across the street there who park significantly big commercial vehicles there that create a real hazard. And I'm wondering if that's an ordinance piece that would have to be put together there. I don't know. I'm not sure. I tried to find what our law is that can you have a commercial truck regularly and frequently just park there because the resident?
No, in a residential district, you cannot park a truck overnight. During the day is perfectly fine. At that specific crossing, we eliminated parking spots right
yeah.
next to the trail because bicyclists and pedestrians could not see past that. We also, in the summertime, put out the temporary bollards so that they can step out and look both ways. But as far as stopping before you cross the street, we're hoping that bigger stop signs along the interurban trail will get bicyclists to stop or just slow down before they cross the street.
Yeah, because I remember last year when the police department discussed it, the majority of bicycle car accidents were caused by cyclists. So, okay, we'll just tell that neighbor to call the PD. Any questions for Roger then?
Actually, as we talk about trying to find outside opportunity for funding in some of these projects, like, is there a memo or a brief or a project outline that we could start circulating among some of the civic groups in the city? I mean, it's one thing to go to the Rotary Club and say, give me 15,000. It's another thing to give them a program and a project memo to say, here's what we're planning. Can you help us defray some of this cost? Is that something that we can potentially do or put together?
Yeah, that's actually the intent of putting this plan together, is so that we can document these sites that we want to improve and then solicit for funding. So that was actually the driving force of putting this together.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I think the other piece of it, and it was mentioned somewhere in here, is education program. We've just said it here 3 times. Bicyclists do not follow traffic laws, which they're required to. And there's more drastic measures we can put to slow them down. But that for me, and that's what I've seen out on LL and Spring Street, is they barely look, but they go blasting across those major highways. And it's scary. So the more education we can do, tell them 10 times, 10 different ways, I don't know, something. And then I guess I would look to chief and some enforcement on some of these, people bicycling on the sidewalks, if there's no consequences, they're not going to stop doing it.
I agree. One of the things that we talked about was communication between pedestrians, bicycles, and cars. Oftentimes, pedestrians are confused by how to cross a street properly, and that causes drivers to not know when to stop. So we're hoping that at these selected intersections, by implementing rapid flashing beacons, it's a communication piece between the individual who wants to cross a street and the person driving a car. I'm crossing, please stop, instead of doing the do-si-do at the intersection and nobody knowing what's going on. Throughout this entire process, Roger has been instrumental. I'd like to commend you, Roger, on bringing new ideas to the committee, as well as your follow-up, your follow-through, all of the work that you've done, getting prices from vendors, ideas from municipalities. When I die and go to heaven, which is where I'm going, I've already decided, there will be a separate path, safe path for pedestrians, a separate path for bicyclists, and a separate path for cars. This plan does not do that, but it's a really good start. So thank you, Roger.
You're welcome, but don't rush. Yeah.
I think the other thing that, and I've asked the county about this, but I got ignored, was e-bikes and their impact on what we're doing here. Because once they get going, it's a little harder to slow them down and stop them for pedestrian bike issues.
I brought that up last time, and I got a very interesting email from a community member about that. So that's something, regulating that is going to probably be done. Mr. Gasper?
Yeah, I just wanted to add on Spring Street, I have seen cars go flying by on the right when they've been stopped for bikes, and I don't think the flashing beacons are going to stop them. Nothing short of having bump outs there, which for northbound, because of the driveways, would have to be a long bump out. Nothing short of that's going to stop them. And if DOT doesn't want to pay for it, you should ask them why they don't take zero in Wisconsin seriously.
Rob?
Not to protract the meeting, but just two comments. One regarding the comment about, service groups participating in this. I want to first point out that the lights at the crosswalk in front of the library and up by Allen Edmonds were both paid substantially by Allen Edmonds, so they contributed to those. So I'd like to recognize them. And then also, again, not to, there's other opportunities. I know when I lived in Shorewood, the rapid flashing beacon on Oakland was paid for by the men's club, so that's definitely an avenue where people might want to get involved. That's one. And regarding Highway 32, the DOT, I don't think would have any objections to, we could do like we do on Northport, where we have those bollards that are up. We could do something like that and do at least a trial and see how it works, and that could protect pedestrians from cars going around, left-turning cars. So maybe that's
a good idea. And then I appreciated the conversation on education. And Chief, if you could contact Sergeant Laubenstein and Officer Haas to see if they'd be willing to do the bicycle stuff like they did when I was little, that'd be great. They did an awesome job. When I was a kid, the police officers used to pull you over on your bicycle and hand you a Dairy Queen popsicles or a Dairy Queen Dilly Bar stick if you were a good citizen.
They gave us brewer cards.
Brewer cards? Yeah. Well, it was unnerving when I got pulled over on my paper road, but. So thank you for this, Alderwoman Pasto. I appreciate your positive pressure on the team to continue to focus on the safety and traffic and safety. Okay, and then our last agenda item here is taking us to something from the Plan Commission, Ordinance 2024-6, amending or creating zoning ordinances to allow and regulate warehousing as a conditional use in the CCM multiple family zoning district. Anaran Holdings LLC is the applicant. At this time, there's no recommendation because this is a first reading. This was reviewed at Planning Commission and was approved for council review. Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So real quick, a bit of background. The impetus for this application concerns a kind of a historical industrial area south of Chestnut between South Montgomery and South Milwaukee. So it was zoned industrial until the late 70s when it was zoned to its current district, which is Central City Mixed. And it was occupied by Port Publications for its printing facility for some time. Just recently, there's interest by Anze, who is the applicant, to put in as for a warehouse use as for their international arm or their international import arm for warehousing. But there is not a warehousing use in the CCM. And given that CCM is largely residential, it's mixed, but it's largely residential, the idea is to take the text change to allow warehousing, but make it more like, a little more skinny warehousing, so to speak, where we're having to, we're maximizing the size of the warehouse uses in CCM and just kind of paring down the specifics of the warehouse use rather than allow for more open-ended warehousing in what is, again, a largely residential zoning district. And it kind of mirrors what it was the same request by Port Publications in the in 2006, 2007, when they wanted to add an addition to their building, and when it was rezoned back in 79 from industrial to CCM, it was non-conforming, so to make it conforming to fit them, they added printing and related facilities, which is as a conditional use. So this is kind of a very, kind of a repeat performance of the zoning text change, where we would just be adding kind of a more narrowly defined warehousing use to accommodate this. This is a first reading, and should this be approved by the council at its following a public hearing at its next meeting, any warehousing use is going to be designated as a conditional use. So very similarly to the ambulance use we recently adopted, we come back with a conditional use and address the specific use, specific location, and the building operations and sites for the site, should we get to that. And again, as mentioned by the mayor, this is a first reading only.
Any questions for Bob? Okay, we'll look forward to that public hearing and potential approval at our next meeting. We have no unfinished business. We have no new business, but we do have the opportunity for public comments. Is there anyone who'd like to make a public comment or appearance before we continue on? Any public comments or appearances? Any public comments and appearances? All right, seeing none, we have two motions. The first motion is to convene in a closed session per Wisconsin State Statute 19.851E, i.e. deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public property, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, to it devise bargaining strategies and discuss financial and other terms and conditions of potential sale and development of approximately 39-acre parcel of city-owned vacant land commonly known as the former Shannon Farm. This is located along the south side of State Highway 33 west of LL. It's tax parcel number 163015.2.0. Is there such a motion?
I will make that motion.
Is there a second? Second. Any questions or concerns on the motion? Is a voice vote. Ward 1? Aye. Ward 2? Aye. Ward 3? Aye. Ward 4? Aye. Ward 5? Aye. Ward 6? Aye. Ward 7? That passes unanimously. There's a second motion then to also convene into closed session per Wisconsin State Statute 19.851E, i.e. deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public property and the investing of public funds or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, to it devise bargaining strategies and discuss financial and other terms and conditions of potential purchase of a 4.27 acre parcel of land located at 1777 West Grand Avenue, Port Washington. Is there such a motion?
I will make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or concerns on the motion? Seeing none. Ward 1. Aye. Ward 2. Aye. Ward 3. Aye. Ward 4. Aye. Ward 5. Aye. Ward 6. Aye. Ward 7. Aye. We are now in closed session. Council, let's get together at 8:05 downstairs. Smoke them if you got them.